Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to day number 2 of the 2013 Winter Championship event. Of course, Starcraft 2, Heart of the Swarm is the game right here, right now on the Red Stream. This is the Dr. Pepper pregame show. I'm Axel Toss, joined by Axlab. How was your day number 1, good sir?
Day number 1 was just fantastic. So many great matches. I love always watching the Koreans versus the foreigner matches. When can the foreigners take a map here and there, and when do those Koreans just show their superior practice and dominance in the game of StarCraft 2?
I mean, that's the story of the weekend so far. Like, what foreigners can step up to the plate and go toe-to-toe with these Koreans? Of course, we had some electrifying matches yesterday, but without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring up that bracket so we have a little bit more context of what's going on. Of course, round of 32. We're going to be finishing that up in the early stages of today, or the later stages, I guess, if you're in Europe, if you're over on the other side of that big ocean to our east. But yeah, there you see the bracket in front of you. We had plenty of awesome results there. You know, Flash over Bly. I think that was a premier matchup from yesterday that closed out the day. Of course, Red taking out Suppi. We got Sen taking out Vibe, Parting over State, Jakji over Marine King, Rain over Seed, Innovation over Huck, and Leenock over Baby Knight. And again, if you missed any of those matches, head on over to MLG.tv. All the VODs are there right now in full 1080p HD, so definitely check that out. Tell me about your thoughts on those matches. Any particular match you were excited about, or an upset that you thought, you know, maybe the other player should have won?
There was a lot of great matches there. One of the matchups I think that caught a lot of people by surprise there was Jakji versus Marine King.
Yeah.
I mean, Marine King's got a huge fan base. Jakji's, you know, he won a GSL a while back, but he hasn't really won any big events recently. Also, TVT known to be his weakest matchup in the past, but here in Heart of the Storm, he came out swinging and just, he showed spectacular play against Marine King. Definitely, if you missed those games, you can catch them there at www.mlg.tv. All the games from yesterday are up there. Jakji versus Marine King. Jakji's builds were so amazing, but the highlight of the day was definitely Bly versus Flash. I mean, you can't really call it an upset because Bly didn't win, but the map he took was absolutely amazing. The first foreigner to take a map from a Korean at this tournament.
Yes.
Game number 3 was just phenomenal. Bly's low econ play, his control of units, everything is just, this guy is really good. A lot of people, you know, write him off. They say, oh, we're talking about top European Zerg, Stefano, Nerchio, you know, but no. This Bly guy, he has a unique style, and I think it's particularly well-suited to throw off some of these top Korean competitors, and we saw that against Flash in that one game. He made Flash look mortal.
Yeah, it's an interesting story there. Of course, coming into the tournament, everyone's looking like, all right, Flash, all right, Bly. Okay, Flash, there you go, done. Bly, of course, showing that he's definitely a premier player that I'm definitely going to be looking out for into the future. Very exciting play style. He had infestors behind his opponent's mineral line for like 10 minutes before he actually, 10 StarCraft minutes, before he decided to actually pop those infested Terrans out. So the patience shown there by Bly really impressed me. But ultimately, Flash showing he's one of the best players in the world with the 3-1. But Bly gave him a run for his money. Of course, other results there. Innovation, very convincing play over Huck. I think he's going to have a strong showing. Leenock, very convincing play over Baby Knight. But enough about yesterday. I know a lot of people are like, what's going on today? Well, we're going to tell you. Of course, stream broadcast is, we have broadcast on both the red and the blue stream. 100% coverage, and this is how you're going to watch it. Red stream, we got MVP versus Feast. Starting off, that's going to be a great best of 5, followed by Tasia versus Sase, then Stefano versus Last, and then Pult against Creative.
Of course, on the blue stream, we're starting off with MC versus Hero from Team CJ. We have Startail Life versus Root Minigun, Ghost User versus Bomber, and then Thorzane versus Killer. One of the things about these matchups, I think, again, the storyline is going to be the foreigners versus the Koreans. Which foreigners can have the best chance of knocking out one of those top Korean players? Is it Stefano? Maybe is it Sase? Sase has been training in Korea for, you know, he has a lot of experience in Korea. And Sase's best matchup is Protoss versus Terran. Yeah,
that should be very exciting indeed. Two of those, I think, they're pretty fan favorite, I think. Of course, Sase recently joining Fnatic, and Tasia, the Liquid player. I know a lot of people are going to be watching out for him, but again, coming up next on this stream is going to be MVP versus Feast. MVP at IEM had a very strong showing, getting very far in that tournament. He's been playing a lot of Heart of the Swarm. He's still very good at the game. Everyone's like, oh, doesn't he have an injury or something? Who knows with injuries these days, but MVP showing that he is one of the best players in Heart of the Storm as of right now, based on those results from IEM.
I mean, look at those win percentages. He just doesn't lose very often. Those are absurdly high win percentages. Most of the top Koreans are, hovering between 50 and 60%. MVP there is around 70. So many top achievements, winning multiple GSL titles. Like you mentioned, top 4 to IEM, barely losing to Yoda, his teammate, in the semifinals, never losing to a player at IEM who wasn't from his own team, who kind of knows how he plays.
Yeah.
He's a big favorite coming into this tournament. Everyone remembers in Wings of Liberty, MVP was unstoppable early on in Wings of Liberty. He just didn't lose. He won pretty much every single event he played in. Will Heart of the Swarm be the return of the former MVP, where he just looks absolutely unstoppable and wins every major event?
The tools are definitely in place for him. I mean, I'm sure he was one of the more excited persons when he heard of that Medivacs can hit a button and go 20 times faster. No, but MVP is going to have, it's going to be a tough run for anyone. I mean, a lot of people thought, all right, Marine King, he's going to make a big run, but he lost in the first round. So we'll have to see what happens here. Of course, anything can happen at the Winter Championship event. But again, he's going up against Feast. Now, Feast is a player. He qualified through the winter season showdowns, and he actually qualified through the last chance bracket. So it should be interesting to see, how convincing can his play be coming into this tournament, considering he didn't have the easiest of times actually qualifying for the event.
That's right. In his first match against Ret, he lost, and he was eliminated. But then when Demaga ended up not forfeiting his spot, there was a last chance bracket between all the European players who were knocked out. Feast able to knock out, Snoot, Grubby, Mana was in there. He prevailed over a lot of other top European players, but he hasn't really shown his Protoss versus Terran yet. We saw him versus Zerg against Red and Snoot. We've seen him against Protoss with Grubby. How does he play Protoss versus Terran?
That's a story, and like not only can we presume based on Wings of Liberty, but this, again, it's a new game. So who knows if we're going to see some new strategies, maybe some Blink Stalker plays that really try to take maybe a bit of a greedy MVP off guard. I think that's definitely likely. But, of course, that's all coming up, guys. That's going to be the first best of 5 of the day here on the Red stream. And that being said, be sure to check out the HD Pass if you want to experience the championship event in full 1080p HD. If you get some, you can get some emoticons you can use in the chat. You can check that out. Again, $9.99. There you see the list of what you can get. So be sure to check that out so you can make your experience that much better. And of course, do not want to forget, on the blue stream, we're going to have DJ Wheat and In Control casting MC versus Hero, which should be another premier matchup.
It really should. I mean, MC is just an amazing Protoss player. CJ Hero is one of those players, if you haven't been following the Pro League, you wouldn't know that much about him. But this guy, for pretty much the entire season of Pro League, every round played today, the first 3, he's been in the top 5 of the standings constantly. Like, he's never dropped out of the top 5 standings. This guy is insanely talented when you're comparing him with the Pro League guys. MC, though, he's the boss toss, right? He's won more money, and he's top 2 in prize earnings in SC2 history.
Yep. Right.
That's how many tournaments this guy's won. And one of his key strengths here is that we can see in his tournaments, he's won tournaments all over the globe. A lot of these Korean players, they do so well in Korea, but they have limited experience traveling outside of Korea. MC, he's traveled so often, he's won so many tournaments, he has no qualms about playing, wherever he wants to play.
Yeah, it should be an awesome matchup again. It is going to be a PvP, which, is revolving a lot around Stargate play in Heart of the Swarm, so that should be a fantastic matchup. Definitely try to pop both streams on both monitors. That's what I would suggest. Or maybe use your, I don't know, split screen or something like that, but you don't want to miss these matches. It's going to be amazing, and this is just the beginning of day number 2. That being said, guys, MVP versus Feast, a best of 5. It's coming your way. That concludes the Dr. Pepper pregame show. I'm Axel Toss. He's Axav. We'll be back with game 1 after a short break.